Stop signing petitions to call an early election. It won't do anything. The 2010 UK parliamentary election cost over £113 million to hold. This is over £28 million for the cost of distributing candidates' mailings and a further £84.6 million for holding the actual election itself. It takes months to plan a general election, and they're generally held every 5 years, as we're all aware. I say generally because the only way for a government to have an early election is by calling something called a snap election. We haven't had a great deal of them, and since the Fixed Term Parliaments Act of 2011, it's become harder for governments to call them. That's the main thing too. Sitting governments are only able to call them, not Parliament as a whole. These days, the government needs to have a vote come to 2/3 who wants to hold a snap election before one can be called. It is highly unlikely that something like this would happen. The Tories currently hold a majority, a slim one, but a majority all the same. They wouldn't dare risk holding a snap election that might backfire at a time when the popularity of the opposition leader, Jeremy Corbyn, is on the rise. Bearing in mind that it takes all this planning and money to get everything done in order to avoid chaos and fraud taking place if something like this was to be rushed, do you really think that a petition is going to force an early election? If David Cameron resigned, there wouldn't be an election. His second in command would take over. That's George Osborne. He is infinitely worse than David Cameron. Then they would have a leadership vote amongst the Tory party like they did with Labour last year. George Osborne would go for it. Boris Johnson would go for it. I imagine so would Theresa May. There wouldn't be a general election. People must also realise the petition on the government petitions website doesn't actually have to be debated. Normally, when the government has the option to debate a petition, they give a half-arsed reason why they don't need to, and that will be, as far as they're concerned, the end of it. People seem to be overly obsessed with petitions these days, thinking they actually do something. I too have signed petitions before, but in reality it's as easy to ignore a petition as it is to autofill one's name with autocomplete. Instead of signing countless meaningless petitions, how about people get up and do something instead? Not happy with the way things are? Go out and protest. Get into politics. Change things. Don't sit on your arse all day signing petitions and commenting with stupid, useless insults about the government that'll really get us nowhere. I'm looking at you, people who demand that we hang Cameron.